In this lecture, we are going to learn about case control structure. So let us start with learning the syntax for case control structure. Switch is a keyword that instructs compiler that our case control structure is beginning from this point. So inside of parenthesis, we have a variable for which the cases will be planned. So this is the whole switch block. This is starting of your switch case, and this ending parenthesis denotes ending of your switch case. So a switch block can have multiple cases, like I have case 1 over here, case 2 over here, and so on. We also have a default case. Whenever a case is not satisfied, that default case is executed. So typically, when a particular case is evaluated to be true, that case block is executed. If case does not match anywhere with the variable, then the default case is executed. So let us take a valid example. Assuming a value n which is provided by user, if n is equal to 1, then this case will be executed. Okay, so this case will be true and all the instructions which are inside of this case block will be executed. Alternatively, if n was equal to 2, then this block will be executed. If we assume that n was equal to 3, then these two cases will be ignored and this part will be executed. Let us take another example. I am using a character variable over here as gender. Suppose user has entered M. In that case, this block will be executed. In case of F, this block will be executed, else the default case will be executed. Notice that the value expression I'm writing in single quote over here. Case control structure is preferred instead of nested if when you have multiple values to be evaluated. Only problem with switch case that we cannot write any conditions over here or here. In the next lecture, we will look into more details of a case control structure. We'll also discuss break keyword, which we have seen in the previous lecture, and why using of break is necessary in case control structure. In this lecture, we are going to learn case control structure in more detail. So we need to discuss around 8 different points related to case control structure. We are going to use this as example for discussing these 8 points. First point is use of default keyword is optional. When we use switch case for a variable, default is optional. So you can use your cases directly instead of writing default. However, to have proper validations in place, you should ideally write default case. Like for example, in this case, suppose user's input does not matches any of the given cases, we can print invalid entry so that user will come to know that he has entered a wrong value. So that was our first point. Next point is sequence of cases is not necessary even for default case. So as we have seen, default is appearing at the top, so that is okay. Also, we have case 1 over here and case 3 over here. That is also okay. We can also write case 3 at the top, default at the bottom or in the middle. So sequence does not matter. Next point is cases can be clubbed together. So we can have something like this: case 2 colon, case 3 colon, case 4 colon, and we can have some common instructions for these 3 cases. So whenever there is a match for any of these 3 cases, these statements will be executed. Next point is there should not be any repetitions. So obviously when you're writing a case over here, you cannot repeat it again. You can also write mathematical equation using constants only. So case 2 plus 1 is okay, but as it is going to evaluate it to 3, which we have already written over here, so compiler will give an error. Alternatively, if the statement was like 2 plus 6, which will be evaluated to case 8, so that wouldn't have given us the error. So that was our fifth point, that expressions can be used but without variables. So writing something like this is invalid. So suppose a plus b, so these are variables, that is invalid. Next point is that we cannot use conditions. So writing case of this form is not possible. So ideally in these type of conditions, you should use if else and not case control structures. The next point is very important, that use of break is necessary but not compulsory. So to understand this example, let us assume that we have not written break over here for case 1 and assuming that A is equal to 1. So in this switch case, all the instructions which are inside of case 1 will be executed, but as we have not written a break keyword over here, compiler will fall through and execute the next case as well. Once it reaches this breakpoint, it will come out of your switch block. So that is why ideally we write break keyword after each case block. The final point is all additional conditions used inside of switch block will not give any error, but those will not be executed either. So inside of your switch block you can write if else, but those block will not be executed at all. Compiler will simply ignore those statements. So this is not really important, but this is something can be asked in your technical interviews or some other quizzes. So that is all for case control structures. In the next lecture we will look into some programs based on case control structures, which will make your understanding more clearer. In the previous lectures, we have seen theory on case control structures. In this lecture, we are going to check few programs on case control structures. In the first program related to case control structure, we are going to ask user to enter a number and then we are going to print that number into Word. So I'm asking user to enter the number and we are going to store that number into N. Notice that instead of writing %d, I'm writing %1d. So we are telling compiler over here to explicitly scan single digit integer. So because of this %d, even if user enters let's say 321, only 3 will be scanned and stored into address location of N. Then we are using switch case on N. So if user has entered 321, then first case will be skipped, second case will be skipped, third case will be skipped, and this fourth case where we have written case 3 which is a match, so 3 will be printed and that will break subsequent cases and your switch will get completed. So in case of 321, because 3 is stored in N, this will be printed. In this program, we are going to ask user to enter a number and then we are going to print words corresponding to that number but in reverse order. So if user has entered 153, our output will be 351 in words. So earlier we have seen how to print reverse of a number. So we are going to use that same logic over here. So here I am asking user to enter the value N, and while N is greater than 0, we are going to divide that number by 10. So we get one digit at a time. So in case of 153, when we apply modulus operator with 10, we get 3. So we are applying switch case over the remainder that we have got, which is 3. So these cases will be skipped, this will be printed, and this will be skipped again because of this break statement, and that will complete your switch case. And once it completes, we are dividing N with 10. So from 153, when we divide it by 10, we get 15. So program controller will go back at the top again. Again the same condition will be checked. In this case, this time it will be 15 greater than 0, which is a true condition. So again with this statement we'll find the new remainder. Now it will be 5 and then 5 will be printed on the output screen. Then 15 will be divided by 10. So your N will become 1. Again the same condition will be checked. This time the condition is 1 greater than 0, which is true, and at this statement we will get remainder as 1 because 1 modulus 10 is 1. Then inside of switch case 1 will be printed, and after that N is equal to N, which is 1 divided by 10, that will be 0. It will be stored into N. When the program controller goes back at the top, condition is 0 greater than 0, which is a false condition. So this while loop is complete now, and that will end your program. So at the end of the program, your output screen will have this as output 351. In this program for case control structure, we are going to perform basic arithmetic operations in which we are going to ask user to enter two numbers and also choice of operations he wants to perform. So these are two numbers that we are going to use to store user's input, and OP is a variable of type char which will store symbol representing corresponding operation that user wants to perform. So here I am printing enter operator plus minus multiplication or division. So user can select a choice from these. Then we are scanning character variable variable. Note I have written %c over here and it will be stored at address location of OP. Then I'm asking user to enter two numbers which I'm storing at address A and address B. Those are integers, hence I've written %d. Then in the next statement we have our switch case, where switch case is on your OP variable that is storing operator symbol. So in case 1 I'm using plus as character symbol. Notice that I have written plus inside of single quote because it is a character, and then inside of that case I'm printing result as integer A plus B, and then I'm using break statement so that this case gets completed and subsequent cases are ignored. So at any given point of time only one case out of these will be executed. In case user enters something other than these operators, plus, minus, multiplication or division, then default case will be executed and controller will print invalid operator and the program will get completed.